So I've been covering the migrant crisis a lot here on the Ken Guyana channel. And what I figured out is there are about 3 hated mayors in America, especially amongst African Americans, that people just can't stand. Number 1, Tiffany Henry out in Dolan, Illinois. Then you have the infamous Brandon Johnson out of Chicago. But there is a third guy. Yes, indeed. And one of the most hated mayors in the country amongst African Americans must be Eric Adams. Now, why is that? Not so much because he's a rude person or he's corrupt, or he has other allegations. I don't believe that's the case. Eric Adams is going to go down as the mayor who put an end to New York. He ruined Harlem. He ruined Uptown. He ruined Manhattan. Because of what? The migrant crisis. He's going to be looking as a guy who wanted to give the migrants everything in New York City while giving his own people in the city nothing. Now, who can forget this infamous prepaid card thing he had going on?
Well, questions being raised tonight about a new pilot program that'll give migrant families a reloadable prepaid credit card to buy food and baby supplies.
All right, it would replace the food boxes given to asylum seekers staying in hotels. Fox 5's Jessica Formoso has more on how it would all work.
Some migrant families will soon be given prepaid credit cards to buy food and baby supplies. The mayor's office says the city is partnering with Mobility Capital Finance to launch a more cost-effective program. Right now, the city has contracts with food services who provide non-perishable food boxes to shelters. They will start with 500 migrant families with children in short-term hotel stays. The cards can only be used at bodegas, grocery stores, supermarkets, and convenience stores.
We're just giving this migrant population more free stuff at the expense of New York City taxpayers.
Or wanting migrants to work.
Spoke earlier about the idea of having these migrants work in New York and giving them an opportunity to work. Have you ever thought of just doing it on your own at this point?
We would love to. Trust me, I've turned over every legal stone to see how we could go about doing it. But if we do it, we could expose ourselves to violating federal laws as well as the city being sanctioned. And would you believe I cannot even allow migrants to volunteer and give them a stipend? If I wanted them just to clean up and the areas where they are staying, that's not allowed to do. When you think about this, this strikes at the heart of who we are as a country. All of our immigrants that have come to this city, all of us in this country.
And he's been caring so much about migrants, he's forgot about the people that helped him get into office. And here is one such situation. You see, Eric Adams had a press conference that he thought was going to go well, where people can come up and speak to him. Well, until this guy had this to say.
Is that Towaki Kamaso? Okay, it's all yours.
Okay. Mr. Adams, I was in this room in June of 2022. After testifying to you in that public hearing, we had a private conversation in a small conference room nearby. You made a remark to me then that you were going to look into my housing. There was no follow-up about that. 15 days ago, I got a punch to my head in a MICA shelter. I don't belong in a shelter. We talked about a housing issue back then. There was no follow-up because of that lack of follow-up. That's how my face looked 15 days ago after getting a punch. So the question is, when people come to your public meetings, you make statements to them. There's no follow-up. There are huge repercussions. I currently have a lawsuit against your administration. One being assigned to the New York State Supreme Court in Manhattan, assigned to New York State Supreme Court Judge Lyle Frank. I also have a pending petition for writ of certiorari to submit to the U.S. Supreme Court by the end of next month. And so guess what I'm going to tell them? I'm going to tell them that while I have pending litigation against your administration, I'm being punched in the head, having to go to an emergency room. So basically, my point is First Amendment retaliation in response to protected First Amendment activity after having a conversation with you in which essentially you lie straight to my face. Have a nice day.
But wait, I want you to hear this lame ass excuse he's going to give.
Yeah, thank you. And first, no one should be assaulted. I'm really sorry to hear what happened to you. And as you indicated, you don't belong in a homeless shelter. No one belongs in a homeless shelter. Every New York should have the right to housing. And the reason we could not continue with our conversation is because you had ongoing litigation. And our counsel stated that when someone has ongoing litigation, we should not interfere with that litigation at all. And so I'm gonna repeat that since you didn't get it when you were recording the first time. I'm gonna say it again. The reason we did not continue to communicate with you is because you had ongoing litigation. And the corp counsel that represent the city advised us that we should not have continuous conversation with someone that has ongoing litigation. But if you have litigation or not, no one should be assaulted in this city. That's something that I stand for. That's something that I believe. And I'm hoping that you reported it to the police department so they could have taken appropriate action, because the person who's responsible for that should be held accountable. That goes for you, and that goes for the 64,000 other migrants, 64,000 other housing, and the over 180,000 migrant and asylum seekers that have come through our city. You spoke already. Let me finish. That goes for those who are already in our system and those who are still coming in our system. Our obligation is to make sure they're safe and they're treated in a humane manner, and that's what we're proud that we're doing.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't really help you because you have litigation against me. No, he didn't have litigation until you didn't do what you said that you were going to do. But this is something that's going on in New York City, Chicago, and Boston, where people, all Americans, but in particular our African-American community, feel like, hey, the city of New York gives a damn about these migrants more than they care about people who actually help create that money, which are taxpayers, federal taxpayers. If you have an income in America, you are a federal taxpayer, which you're helping these people who don't pay any taxes. Tiffany Fulton talked about the discrimination towards homeless Americans in comparisons to what migrants get.
I mean, all they're saying, Tiffany, is it's not fair.
It's totally not fair. It's totally not fair. I was one of the few Harlem residents that went on that tour, and it's a beautiful location. And we have a housing project right across the street, St. Nicholas Houses, where they're getting ready to be relocated or displaced because they're going under renovation. So I did ask the mayor, and I asked all the other city officials there, instead of displacing the senior citizens or people that are disabled, if we're going to make this a migrant, or we're going to make this a shelter, period, why not make it for the people across the street in that housing project of over 3,000 people with disabilities and senior citizens? Why not move them in there?
And not only that, I'm not saying that all migrants commit crime. I'm not trying to insinuate that. But there has been a level of migrant crime, migrants who don't pay any taxes.
A migrant robbery ring plaguing New York, with suspects getting away on scooters. Police saying they're looking for the ringleader. Fox 5 New York's Lizette Nunez joining us now with the latest from One Police Plaza. Lizette, good morning.
Good morning, and this was a pretty sophisticated robbery ring, I should say. Now, I did check in with police this morning, who tell me they have arrest warrants for 3 other individuals, and they believe others were also involved.
And what is someone to do about it is the question. See, the reality is this. A lot of African Americans, or black people in general, have been voting Democratic all their lives. I get it. My mom convinced me to vote for Obama in 2008. I voted Democratic. That was the last time I voted Democrat, right? But the reality is this. You're not getting anything for your vote. That's obvious. Whether you don't want to vote, we saw that happen in the city of Chicago. A lot of blacks just didn't show up to vote, right? Which Tariq and she's been talking about. But one thing that I will say is, how can you vote for people who don't even want to spend any time with you? Now, in this case, this constituent was white and needed help. And Eric Adams said, hey, I'll do X, Y, and Z for you. But you know what? The guy said, you're a liar. You lied to me. And that's what a lot of these guys do anyway. They're liars. They're lying to people. For what? I don't know, because they're going to be exposed in the end. Once they get through using Eric Adams up and Brandon Johnson up, they'll find out one day. but these people are really giving the country to people who didn't even do anything for it. That's interesting. Want to know what else is interesting? You're going to see it happening more often. More cities will take in more migrants, and they will continue to lie to the American public and the black community as long as they can get to a bag. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, Shader Jackson, back at it again with another episode here. Fair use, I'm out.